Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue with the explanation of the chapter, The Kite Maker, which is a short story written by Ruskin Bond. Here, the chapter has taken turns, and we come to know about how times have changed. Mahmood helps us to understand how times have changed now, and people no more have time for daydreaming or for sports and their hobbies. Earlier, people used to sit together and have time for their activities. They used to chit chat, but now people have taken everything for granted. Okay, so let's continue with the explanation. We will continue from page number 71. We have done till 70. Okay, I'm taking the last part so that it's easier for us to recall what we have done. Okay, so I'll be starting from the last stanza. Please open up your books while you are watching this video lesson. The children who had bought kites from him 10 years ago were now grown men, struggling for a living. They did not have time for the old man and his memories. So he recalls how when he was young, children used to come and buy kites from him. And now, after so many years, those children, those little toddlers and young ones, they are now adults. They are grown men. They have the responsibility of earning their own survival, and they are struggling for their own living. That means they are working hard to earn money. They did not have time for this old man and his memories. That means they did not have any time to come to this old man and recall all those good memories of their childhood, to cherish upon those memories. They had grown up in a swiftly changing and competitive world, and they looked at the old kite maker and the banyan tree with the same indifference. So they had grown up in a swiftly changing, swiftly means really fast. That means each and every person wants to do better than you. Each and every person is ready to race with you. They have to work hard upon themselves every day. They have to prove themselves every day so that they can earn money, they can earn a living. And they looked at the old kite maker and the banyan tree with the same indifference. When they were young, those children, the banyan tree was at its youth. It was growing, like the kite maker was at his prime. And now, when these children have grown up, they look at both of them with the same indifference. That means they really have no concern for them, they have no interest in them. Both were taken for granted. What does this mean? When you are taken for granted, that means you are not appreciated properly. So both were taken for granted. That means they are going to remain here forever. Permanent fixtures that were of no concern to the raucous, sweating mass of humanity that surrounded them. These grown men now, who were children, now they take them as permanent fixtures, and they are not showing any kind of concern for the banyan tree or for the kite maker. No longer did people gather under the banyan tree to discuss their problems, their plans. Only in the summer months did a few seek shelter from the fierce sun. And no longer now people collected under the banyan tree. They no longer sat under the banyan tree in a group to discuss what their problems are, to discuss the propositions they had, the ideas that they had. And only in summer months did a few seek shelter. And when did they remember the banyan tree? Only when they had to get themselves protected from the fierce rays of the sun, those wild scorching heated rays of the sun. So they just wanted shelter from banyan tree. But there was a boy, his grandson. But he says, despite all of these things, he was happy. Why? Because he had his grandson. It was a good idea that Mahmood's son worked close by, for it gladdened the old man's heart to watch the small boy at play in the winter sunshine, growing under his eyes like a young and well-nourished sapling, putting forth new leaves each day. Important paragraph. Here he is saying that in spite of all these things, that people taking him for granted and none of them now coming to him and appreciating him, he was still happy. He could still find happiness in his life. And what was that happiness? What was that source of happiness? That was his grandson, Ali. He was really happy that his son goes to work nearby, and he could see this little boy, Ali, play in that winter sunshine, okay, growing under his eyes like a young sapling. So he is comparing here. This is when you use like, that is a simile. So here he is comparing Ali with a young sapling, with a young plant, okay, who is growing with each and every day. New leaves are there on a sapling when it grows, right? So he is comparing this little boy with this sapling when he says that I am really happy that I can see my boy, my grandson, each day growing and learning new things. There is a great affinity between trees and men. And then he tries to give us a little proof of it. Why is he comparing his grandson with the young sapling? Okay? There is a great affinity between trees and men. Affinity means things you have in common, a relationship or bond that you share. So he says we grow at much the same pace. That means the speed of our growth is quite same. We have ages, we are young, we have our youth, and then we have our old age. If we are not hurt or starved or cut down, here he says that we have same growth rate, we grow at the same rate if we are not hurt, okay, if you are not starved, that means deprived of the nutrition, if we are given the nutrition properly, if we are not hurt or cut down, then we grow at the same pace. In our youth, we are resplendent creatures, and in our declining years, we stoop a little, we remember, we stretch our brittle limbs in the sun, and then we sigh, we shed our last leaves. So he says in our youth, when we are young, we are resplendent creatures. Okay, he says that we are shining with a lot of energy, we are attractive. How a young plant is, right? The leaves of the plant look really fresh, they are really appealing. And in our declining years, that means the later years of our life, the end years of our life, we stoop a little, that means we bend a little, the bones become weak and we start bending, the posture becomes different. We remember, that means we start recalling our older days. We stretch our brittle limbs in the sun. Limbs are hands and legs, brittle, weak. And limbs in case of trees are the branches. So he says under the sunshine we stretch ourselves, we stretch our weak limbs to relax ourselves, and then with a sigh we shed our last leaves, and then we breathe our last breath, and then we shed our leaves. That means we finally come to an end, our life finally comes to an end. We shed our leaves. How the trees shed their leaves in the autumn season, and then how new leaves come up on them. Likewise, he is trying to say that we, with a deep sigh, with that long last breath, we come to the end of our life. I hope you are able to understand how Mahmood is trying to give us a close relationship which is there between trees and men. Moving on, Mahmood was like the banyan. Again, here the writer is comparing. Like the banyan, here is comparing Mahmood with the banyan tree. How? Let's see. His hands gnarled and twisted. Gnarled means rough. So his hands have become rough and twisted like the roots of the ancient tree. So why is he calling Mahmood like the banyan tree? Because like the roots of the banyan tree have become twisted, they've become withered, okay, they've become rough. Likewise, the limbs of Mahmood have also become rough. His hands and legs have become rough due to old age. Ali was like the young mimosa planted at the end of the courtyard. And the narrator says, that means Ruskin Bond, he says that he was like the young mimosa planted at the end of the courtyard. And then he tries to give a comparison. He is trying to say that Ali was like the young plant, the young mimosa which was planted at the end of the backyard of the house. In 2 years, both he and the tree would acquire strength and confidence of their early youth. He's trying to say that in next 2 years they will be living their youth. Both the tree as well as Ali, they would gain the strength and confidence of their early youth. The voices in the street grew fainter. Now he's talking about the present. He says the voices in the street grew fainter. That means he could not hear a lot of noises from the street. And Mahmud wondered if he was going to fall asleep and dream as he so often did. And the narrator says, and Mahmud wondered, that means he thought to himself that if he will go to sleep and start dreaming as he usually did, it was his habit to sleep during daytime and have dreams. So will he sleep this time and think about a kite which will be so beautiful and powerful that it would resemble, that it will be like the great white bird of Hindus, which is called Garuda, which is Vishnu's famous ride. Steed is ride, when you sit on something and it becomes your ride. Like for Lord Ganesh, we have mouse as his ride. So likewise, Vishnu's ride is Garuda. Okay, so here the narrator is saying that Mahmud was thinking to himself that if he goes to sleep now, will he dream of a kite which will be so beautiful and powerful like that of the great bird which is Garuda? He would like to make a wonderful new kite for little Ali. He still had this wish to make a new kite for Ali. And why? Because he had nothing else to leave the boy. They were poor, they were not quite rich. So the only thing that Ali could inherit, the only thing that he as a grandfather could leave to his grandson was nothing else but a kite, which is also a symbol of his art, the great art that he had. He heard Ali's voice in the distance, but did not realize that the boy was calling him. He could hear that Ali's voice was coming from a little distance, from a little far off, but he did not realize that a boy was really calling him. And suddenly, as you can see in the picture, Ali is standing here. Ali enters and he calls out his grandfather. But Mahmud thought that this voice was coming from really far away. Was he sleeping? Was he already asleep? Maybe. Ali was at the courtyard door, asking if his mother had as yet returned from the bazaar. So Ali had come to his grandfather because he wanted to ask something about his mother. And what was that? Has she yet returned from the bazaar, from the market? When Mahmud did not answer, the boy came forward repeating his question. So Mahmud did not answer, and the grandson, that means Ali, he came forward and repeated his question. He thought that grandfather must be sleeping, so he came near and he repeated his question. I hope you have understood till here. Moving on to the next page. The sunlight was slanting across the old man's head, and a small white butterfly rested on his flowing beard. The sunlight was slanting across the old man's heart. What is slanting? The meaning is quite given in the book. Here, sloping, okay, which is not straight. The sunlight was sloping across the old man's head. That means it was passing, it was crossing the old man's head, it was falling upon it, and a small white butterfly rested on his flowing beard. How was his beard? Red dyed, right? Here, the writer has used imagery. This is an example of imagery where he has tried to create a very colorful image in the mind of the readers of the rays of sunshine falling on his head and the butterfly sitting upon his orange beard. Try to imagine this. He is sleeping under the sunshine where the sun rays are falling upon his head, and there's a butterfly which is sitting on his beard. Mahmud was silent. He did not speak at all. He did not respond to Ali's question. And when Ali put his small brown hand on the old man's shoulder, he met with no response. Even then there was no response. The boy heard a faint sound like the rubbing of marbles in his pocket. And he heard a faint sound, that means a very weak sound, a low sound, and that sound was something like that of rubbing of marbles. Suddenly afraid, Ali turned and moved to the door and then ran down the street shouting for his mother. Now Ali could not understand why wasn't grandfather responding. And when he heard that sound, he got scared and he runs to his mother. He moves towards the door and runs into the street calling out his mother. The butterfly left the old man's beard and flew to the mimosa tree, and a sudden gust of wind caught the torn kite and lifted it in the air, carrying it far above the struggling city into the blind blue sky. What an end, what a beautiful end to the story. The butterfly left the old man's beard, and as soon as Ali went to call out his mother, the butterfly flew away and it went and sat down on the young mimosa tree. And a sudden gust of wind, that means the sudden rush of wind, that strong blow of wind, caught the torn kite. That means it lifted the torn kite which was stuck on the banyan tree, and it lifted it into the air. It was no more stuck in that banyan tree, carrying it far above the struggling city into the blind blue sky. And this strong gush of wind, this strong blow of wind, took away the torn kite into that unknown, into that limitless sky above that struggling city. That means away from all the struggle of life, without having to follow the rules of life, the rules of the world, the theories which people have to follow in order to survive. Now it was free. Here, symbolism has been used. How? Because the wind that carried away the kite, it resembles that it took away the soul of the grandfather. The butterfly that flew away from his beard is a symbol of his soul getting parted away from him, which means that grandfather was dead. He had died, and he had died a peaceful sleep, a sound sleep. He was peaceful, and even the last wish that he had was for his grandson. He wanted to make a beautiful kite for his grandson so that it becomes the last memory of him with his grandson. So at last, the writer says that that sudden gust of wind which caught the torn kite and lifted it into the air, it was Mahmud's soul which was left free, which was now liberated. It was no more caught in that physical cast, in that human form. It was now free to live like that torn kite which was lifted by the strong gush of wind, by that strong air. I hope you have understood a beautiful story about grandson and his grandfather. It highlights very important points. One is to take care of our elders, to not forget that as we are getting older, our parents and our grandparents are also becoming old. The amount of nourishment that we require, they also require the likewise amount. Like they have been caring for us since our childhood. Now when we grow up, it becomes our responsibility to take care of them. Second thing, to not forget our artisans, people who are artists, whether a person is a painter, a person is a kite maker, a person is a poet or a writer or a speaker. Each and every art is important. It resembles and it is a symbol of our history. We should not forget them. Okay? We should support them, we should help them in carrying that art forward for the future generations. We are responsible for its extinction. Okay? I hope you've got the idea, the message which the writer wants to give us through these characters, grandfather Mahmud and his grandson Ali. So we come to the end of this chapter. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll meet again with the next chapter.